Hey guys, Ian Flanagan here, and in this video, my partner Pat Hayes is interviewing the one and only Kyle Handy. And Kyle's going to be sharing his story about being an independent broker with 15 agents, struggling, a lot of overhead every single month, and what his business looks like today by partnering with eXp Realty. It's going to blow your mind. He's got over 500 agents all around the world, and he has accomplished time and money freedom. He's going to be sharing exactly how he did that. He's also going to be sharing some sales techniques of how he has been able to sell a lot of real estate over time and become an icon agent, and also how he's built his business through agent attraction and really pouring into agents and helping those agents sell a lot of real estate. So if you have any comments, questions, type those in below. Share this with your team members, and I hope you enjoy the interview.
And this is a great segue into, introducing our special guest. Talk about persistence, right? And so, you know how everybody gets shot down. You talk to these agents, and you want to take them to lunch, you want to take them to happy hour, whatever it is, a lunch and learn, take them to coffee, and they say no or whatever it is, right? And so you get shot down, right? And so persistence is key, right? Never give up. And so that's what happened with me whenever I was trying to get a hold of Kyle Handy about 5 years ago. He kept on saying no, 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 no. And I even went over him and I went to his mother, and I reached out to his mom because Kyle's mom's a realtor as well too, and a broker. And so I knew she was actually at a open house one day, and I knew that she was going to be over there. So I went over there and tried to connect with her, and tried to see if I could have her help with setting up another appointment with Kyle. And she even shot me down. She said, "No way, Kyle would never do eXp Realty. You're crazy. He's got his own brokerage firm, and he's growing, and he's having fun. Like, no way, no way, no way." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is crazy. How am I ever going to get a hold of Kyle? How am I ever going to get to sit down and have a one-on-one meeting with Kyle?" But I'll let him tell the story. But if you guys don't know who Kyle Handy is, he's an icon agent here in San Antonio. He's incredible. He's an amazing agent. He's an amazing father, amazing friend. And I'm so blessed that he's a part of eXp now, and we're growing like crazy. If you guys don't know who he is, follow him on YouTube. He's got a lot of great content, like him and Sherrod just put out some amazing content right here. And I've asked him to come on this call several times. He's such a busy man, but he actually was free this morning on Friday to come on the call to provide value. And guys, don't be afraid. If you have questions, at the end, hold your questions until the end, and we'll open it up for some Q&A though. But without further ado, my good friend Kyle Handy. Kyle, welcome to the call this morning. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, doing great, Pat. Thanks for having me, man. Super excited to be on the call. And yeah, I know we've been trying to set it up for a little while. It's not that I'm too busy. It's just that we travel all the time. So literally every time Pat's like reaching out, we're like on a trip or we're doing something. So
that's right. That's right. So guys, if you don't know who Kyle is, definitely, put down your phone, listen to this story, because this story is truly, truly amazing. Whenever we always talk about, life changing, those are some big words, right? Some of these agents that we're talking to, they kind of laugh at us or, look at us like deer in the headlights. Like, how can a real estate model, real estate brokerage firm be so powerful and so life changing? Well, it is. And Kyle's got an amazing story. I want you guys to listen to this whole story. So, Kyle, there's a lot of new agents on here. Of course, we do this for all the agents. There's a lot of new agents on here that I don't even know. I love to see new faces. That means we're growing. And then also there's a lot of agents that and I know that we've been working with for several years growing this company. But a lot of people don't know who Kyle Handy is and want to know who Kyle Handy is to motivate them and help them grow. And so take us all the way back to, why, what made you get into real estate? Why did you get into real estate? And then lead up to exactly where you are now, your success. Why are you traveling? How are you able to travel? I know what it is, because it's that thing called rev share. And and I've got some other questions for you, but let's take it all the way back. So tell us a little bit more about Kyle Handy and why Kyle got into real estate.
yeah, so interesting story. So I got in 2008 to real estate, and I just graduated with a degree in finance here in San Antonio. And I really didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, man, should I go up to Wall Street? Should I, try and do investments and trade stocks and bonds for people, or get into banking? No clue. So I was like, well, my mom, she'd been a broker. She was like, hey, why don't you, just try real estate for the time being and kind of see, like, if you like it, if it clicks. And I was like, all right, well, I've got nothing else to lose. So I was like, I did it, right? I got started 2008, and I actually really enjoyed it. I started to I struggled like a lot of people, in the beginning, trying to find leads and doing that type of thing. But eventually, I found my way. I started doing a lot of like online lead generation and started to get some deals going. And after about 5 years of being, just an individual agent and, selling homes, 2013 rolled around, and my wife hit me with some crazy news that we were going to have our first child. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was life changing. Like, for those of you that remember, like, if you've gotten that news, it's like, oh my gosh, you just start thinking of your life differently. And so basically in 2013, I was like, man, I was selling a lot of homes. I was making 200 to 300 grand a year, great money, right? And I was still, probably at this point, I think I was, maybe mid late 20s. And I was like, what, I had the money, but I didn't have the time freedom. I was working like 80, 90 hours a week, just to sell real estate. And so I'm sure a lot of agents, are kind of at that spot where it's like you start where you're like not doing anything, and then you're doing too much. And then you kind of figure out, okay, well, how do I start to scale? How do I build leverage? And because that was what I wanted at that point in 2013, because I knew with my kids, I didn't want to have to like be missing their football games and, all the sports stuff and whatnot. And so I was like, all right, well, I had like the best idea. And it was that I was going to start a real estate brokerage, and I was like, all right, that's the ticket. That's how you get leverage, and that's how you can get out of, having to sell so much darn real estate. And so sure enough, in 2013, I started up Handy Realty here in San Antonio. And when I first started, it was just basically a brokerage to serve me. So I wasn't paying like any splits and fees. So I was like, this is kind of cool. And then I started to get some agents, friends of mine and stuff like that. I wasn't like a recruiter by any means. I didn't know what recruiting really even was. I just had people that were getting their license. They knew I had a brokerage. They'd be like, hey, Kyle, can I join your brokerage? I was like, sure. And but by 2017, so fast forward 4 years, I had now 15 agents at my brokerage. We had a brick and mortar office. I had like 3 employees. I had, with Boomtown CRM, we had all this, overhead, and 25 grand in overhead every single month. And the deals the agents were bringing in was not covering that. Trust me, like I was having to supplement my own income because I was still actively selling to cover all the bills. And so, basically at that point, it was like I had started the brokerage to have that freedom, to build that freedom. And I was going the opposite direction. Now it was just like a bigger hamster wheel that I had to turn, because it was more than just like having to cover my bills when I was a real estate agent, to now I'm having to like cover the bills for the agents that were at my brokerage. And it just wasn't a good situation. And so, it was that was when, Pat and I, the first time he had reached out to me, I was in my stubborn phase, like 2016. And I was like, no, man, I'm all good. I don't need anything, and I can do it on my own. Why would I ever join another brokerage? But like after about like that 2016, 2017 hit me real hard. That was like when my expenses had gotten to the highest. I literally had gotten sued, for a deal that one of my agents had done. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like on the surface though, everybody thought that, I had it made. They were like, oh, Kyle Handy, he's got his own brokerage, he's got his own office, and like, we were doing lots of transactions. And so like on the surface, if you were here in San Antonio, people would be like, oh, Kyle's doing really well. But like behind, the curtains, I had like 100 grand in credit card debt. Like I was like stressed to the max, had no free time. Literally, I was doing like multiple businesses just to try and like stay afloat. I was flipping homes. I was like, I was even, I bought a big old PC, big old rig to like mine cryptocurrency on the side. I was doing all this crazy.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember seeing that in your office. I walked into his office. I was like, what is this thing? He's like, oh, I'm mining crypto. I was like, what?
I was doing all sorts of stuff, right? Like I was using the electric because I didn't have to pay electric at my office. So I was using that to mine the cryptocurrency. You'd come into my super nice office and it'd be like, you'd hear a swarm of bees off to the right because it was just the current, the computers running. And so, I mean, but I didn't want to show any of that. And so like I was putting on a good front. And but then finally what did it, and this is the funny part of our story, I'm sitting down in 2017 doing my taxes. I'm sitting down with Ed Guerrero, our CPA, and turns out he's the same CPA for Pat Hayes. And so at the end of my appointment with Ed asks me, he's like, hey, do you know a guy named Pat Hayes? And I was like, Yeah, he's, been blowing me up about this, EXP thing for like the last
Yeah,
year.
Kyle's like, yeah, that guy's annoying, man. He
Yeah.
calls me all the time.
Pretty much. That's what I said. And he was like, well, I just did his taxes, man. He's doing some really interesting stuff with real estate. And Ed, my CPA, when, he sees Pat's finances and then he sees my finances right afterwards, if he tells me you need to take a look at an opportunity, that's when you start to think about it more seriously. And so then sure enough, after that meeting, I called Pat up and I'm like, all right, Pat, I'll meet with you, I'll give you 30 minutes. I was still trying to like play that hard ball, I was like, I'll give you 30 minutes, we'll go to lunch. And I was like, I'm probably still not going to be interested. But then sure enough, we show up to lunch, we go to Little Italy, and it was like a rainy day and we were there for like 3 hours, man. It was like forever because I just kept asking question after question. And sure enough, but like right after that meeting though, I was sold. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. This is the ticket. This is going to allow me to do what I've been trying to do for the last 4 years, build leverage, scale my business, help a lot of agents, and expand in places that I would have never even dreamed of, beyond just San Antonio. And so yeah, so I mean, that was kind of my story. So in 2017, I basically shut down the brokerage. I had 15 agents. Most of them were part-time or, no time, like some had never even sold a house. And so we kind of found new homes for their licenses. And I came here with one other agent, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know, Mr. Curtis Dixon. He was actually one of my agents at my brokerage. And that was a good agent to bring with me to EXP. Because those of y'all that know Curtis, now he's, in the corporate realm, right? We took kind of like two paths. We came here to EXP together. We were both selling for about a year together. And then, he got an opportunity to go on the corporate side as like on the training. And I just kept going down the agent side. We still talk, almost every single week. And it's just fun to kind of, see how he's doing it versus how I'm doing it now.
Love it, guys. That's a true story right there, man. And Kyle, I'm so thankful for you to be part of our family, and you're such a good friend of ours now. And our families are our friends, and our kiddos are friends, and it just this company is truly changing lives, and that's a life-changing story right there. And so, Kyle, share with the group if you don't mind. So you have 15 agents there at your boutique brokerage firm, right? 15 agents, yep. Right? And so you had that almost 3 or 4 years or so.
4 years, yeah, about the same amount of time I've been at EXP.
Yep. And now share your numbers. How big is your revenue share organization now, and how many agents have you personally sponsored at EXP?
Yeah, so I'm at personally sponsored. I'm at 93 agents frontline, and
93 FLAs right there, guys. 93. Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, that's been amazing, just because again, it's one of those things, like if I was just in San Antonio, there's probably no way I would have sponsored 93 people in San Antonio, but because we have an opportunity to, do this wherever, like I'd say, almost probably 2/3 of my organization is outside of San Antonio from like my personal sponsors. And so, like 60 to 70 agents that I've sponsored in the company are not in San Antonio. A lot of them not even in Texas. And so, they'll find me through my YouTube channel or through my blog. But then my total organization, so those 93 agents have gone out and helped to sponsor a total of 520 agents in my total group. So, yeah.
That is awesome, man. Kudos. Congrats to you. So, and again, Kyle, so we do this, every single Friday to, provide value to, all the agents that are here, some of the guests that are here as well, too. And it's not only about agent attraction, it is about selling real estate. And I know you're an icon agent. That means, you've sold a lot of houses, and, you've gotten your cap back in the form of company stock, and you're truly building wealth. And I mean, that's absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of you. And so if you could maybe just share a few nuggets, because we like to provide value about selling real estate, and then also about how to build a massive rev share organization. So if you could maybe just share a few nuggets, how did you sell so many houses? What systems did you use? I know you're a systems guy, you're big on YouTube, your videos, you're big on blogging, like you've got that dialed in. How were you able to, ramp up your real estate business? And just share maybe a few nuggets to some of the agents here that are looking to scale their business.
Yeah, well, I mean, shoot, I would say my sales business there was a lot of paths that went down. Like I just, the biggest thing is I was, hustler. I was always, trying to figure it out, I guess you could say. So I tried a lot of different things. And, I started with, I've done a lot of cold calling, I've done like for sale by owner, expired cold calling. I did a lot of ads, Google pay-per-click, Facebook ads. I worked my sphere of influence quite a bit. I've lived in San Antonio for almost my entire life, so I've known a lot of people here. So, obviously worked that angle quite a bit. And yeah, most recently I do YouTube, and I've got my blog, and that's more on, I would say, the agent attraction side. If I was going back today to start my sales business today, I would go YouTube or or blogging from as my main source of leads for even the sales side of the business, without question. Like, from what I've seen, as far as like the way that you can scale content, it's so much better, in my opinion, than running with the ad side or just the hustle and prospecting side. So I think that's really the ticket, and it's really not that difficult once you kind of get started and once you kind of get your processes going. But I mean, and then obviously, like, I think that you can still add things on to that. You can layer on top of it, ads and retargeting and things like that. But if you were going to do like one thing, and if I were going to do one thing, it would definitely be, content creation on the sales side, like, running videos around my local market, adding value to people that are looking to most likely buy in this area, but still putting out some videos for sellers. But I think that that's really what's working really well for a lot of agents. If you look around the industry, the ones that are growing by leaps and bounds in different markets, a lot of them have started, YouTube channels. I'd say less of people, are into the blog side of it. That's something where, I do both. I've got, a really established blog now, and a really, a decently established YouTube channel, I would say. And, and both are very, very effective. It just depends on, do you want to do video? Are you comfortable on video? Or do you like to write more, and for me, I don't really like to write as much. I like to do video.
Yep.
It's just easier for me. And then basically you can turn that into blog posts, which is kind of like what I do. But yeah, I mean, so there's all sorts of different ways, but I would say on the sales side, definitely, you got to be organized. So, I mean, we already got KV Core, so that's a great way to store all of your leads, but you need to make sure though, that the way that you get leads is, in my opinion, is by coming from a standpoint of value. So whatever that means to you as an agent, however you can provide value the most to most, people, one to many, I think that's what you got to do in this day and age. And it's only going to get more and more like that, I feel like. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. And now, so that's on the sales side. So what about the, the agent attraction side of it? How have you been able to, personally sponsor over 90 agents to build a revenue share organization of over 500 agents, spanning, all across the US and Canada, in other countries? How are you able to scale that?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, when I first started, kind of building the agent attraction side of my business, and I'll be honest, like, I didn't actually really start building agent attraction for probably the first 8 to 9 months that I was at EXP. So like, I started in May of 17, and basically like January of 18, I made a commitment to going after the revenue share side. And it was funny because I was on a call with Scott Lewis at the time. He had the gladiator calls, and I was on those every single week. And he had given a story, and it just motivated me. And I think what's interesting in a lot of us, if we are in that mindset of like, I want to build agent attraction, you have to make a huge commitment, because just joining EXP, like, yes, that is a commitment, but it's a different commitment when you also say like, I'm going to go after revenue share. Because like, I came to EXP and I was like, I understood the value of what the revenue share could do, because Pat Hayes at that time was already making like 10 to 12 grand a month, I think is what you were making back when I joined. And I was like, oh man, it works, compared to what you're making today. Right. But I was like, and I knew it worked, but it's still like, I hadn't changed anything really in my business to go after it. But then when I made that commitment, January of 18, I was like, hey, I had to take away a lot of stuff that I was doing. At the time I was still doing property management. I was still flipping homes. I still had a sales team. I had a lot of things going on, and some of those things were making a good amount of money. Like each flip I'd do, I'd make 30, 40, 50 grand on it. And I did like 7 flips in 2017. And basically in 18, I was like, look, I can't do everything and still go after revenue share. So like, a lot of us say we want to build revenue share, but are you doing the things in your life to clear up or to free up the time so you can go after it? And so I think that's like one of the first things that I had to do. I basically boiled it down to like, these are the only 2 things that I'm going to focus on for 2018. And it was selling real estate and going after agent attraction. Like my sales team, I offloaded my sales team. I got rid of my property management business. I'd never flipped another house, and I still haven't. And basically, because I just, went 100% committed to revenue share and selling homes. because that was the only two things that I had time for. And so sales, that was like my today money, but I knew that revenue share would be my future money. It might take 2-3 years for it to become truly meaningful income to me. But I knew that it would, because I'd seen you do it. I now had the belief just from, jumping on calls and doing things like that, that like this was going to happen. And so then basically at that point, I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And so I started, like a lot of people, just, reaching out to my local connections, the agents that I knew here in San Antonio, friends of mine, people that I'd done business with in the past, all that kind of stuff. And then, just like looking at my MLS numbers, like, seeing who else was, top sale, and I would try and, friend them on Facebook, all the stuff that, I would say a lot of us, should start out with if you haven't, done that already, work in your local sphere. But then after, I'd say probably about, that was, early 2018, I'd say like, probably by like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months after that, because I went really hard in it. So, I mean, I was doing it pretty quickly. I was like, well, now what do I do to get more people? Like I want more than just what I can get here. Cause I felt it was too slow just going after the people here in San Antonio. And so that's when I started running ads for agent attraction for EXP. And I was, running ads against the term EXP Realty on Google. And at the time, like no other agents was doing that. And it wasn't against the pledge or anything. We didn't have a attraction pledge at the time. And so, but then sure enough, they come out with this pledge, and then I get a message in my inbox from none other than Glenn Sanford himself. And he's like, Kyle, you got to turn off the ads. And I'm like, oh, are you serious? Like they were just starting to work, like I was getting agents that were coming in, like, I'd recruited a few, like, and they're still here today. And so it's like probably a good, like 9 to 10 agents that I got, but they were from like all other places. And I was like, man, this would have been really great if I could have kept doing this. But, then at that time, and I didn't want to go against what EXP was doing. So I was like, I'm not going to do anything illegal. And so I was like, but here's the thing. I know that they work, like, and I guess that was my first idea of, all right, well, if I can't run ads, how do I still get people to see me that are in other places? And so that was like, well, if I come up organically, like if somebody just searches EXP Realty and I show up on Google or YouTube or whatever, that, EXP can't say anything against that, that's not running an ad. And that was like my first thought of like, all right, I need to do, something with content. And so then basically like mid 2018, I started my blog. And I, that's kind of how I got started with things. And then I'd say that transitioned to a YouTube channel, probably like mid 19. And, after about a year or so, and then sure enough, now it's like, what's been 2 years since my YouTube channel, 3 years since my blog. Like if you search, anything on Google, related to EXP Realty, a lot of my stuff will come up, and it's all legal. It's all fair game. And now I can, attract agents from all over. And so it's, it's pretty cool ride, pretty cool journey. I've learned a lot, through that journey, and it's been a lot of fun to be able to share that knowledge with other agents, via my YouTube channel, via my blog. And I do feel it's a huge proponent. I think that it's a very underutilized skill to have. I think that in this market, I mean, there are people that are getting into YouTube, that are getting into blogging, but trust me, there's a lot of eyeballs out there. There's a lot of attention that you can still get. So don't ever feel like it's too saturated or whatever. The thing is, you just got to come from like a standpoint of trying to add value, like true value to people, not doing it because of the end result, like of like, I just need money or I just want to recruit an agent, but like do it because you do have a passion to help somebody. Like if it's a client, a buyer, a seller, you're doing it because you truly do want to help them. Like think of it, like you got to think of it from their standpoint. Like I literally have pictures of agents that are in front of me. It's kind of weird, but I have pictures of agents, like random agents. Sometimes I'll swap out because I'm like, what does this person need? Right. Like maybe it's a new agent in my group. So then I'll like go on a little tangent of like, I'm going to make content. I look at that person's face and I'm like, what would this person need right now? I try and make content for that person. Right. And, if it's a buyer or a seller, right? Like if it's, a past client of mine, maybe I'll print out a picture of them and just look at it. Like, what would this person need? Like when this person was buying a house from me, like what were their questions? Like what could I do today that would help the next person like that down the road? If you come from that standpoint, your content's going to connect really well. You got to be, don't worry about, how it looks and sounds and all that stuff. You can get better over time. Like, you don't have to have all the background and the lights and the mics and stuff when you get started. There's very, small things that you can buy that are cheap that will, you know, at least get you on the right path. And then you can upgrade as you start to get better at it. But I think, you know, that's the long-winded answer of like my path on agent attraction and how it's kind of come to be. It's been, I think, you know, the biggest thing beyond just like the money and like, you know, the success now, like having this big group, is just like the fulfillment that it gives me to know that like I've helped, you know, so many agents. Like, you know, it's a bigger purpose that I've got beyond just what I had before. You know, 4 years ago, I was just building like my own thing for me. It was like a different mindset that I was in. Now it's like, this is an amazing experience for a lot of us. So
love it, man. That's awesome, man. Great stuff right there, guys. Golden nuggets right there. So now, you know, we all love selling real estate. It's our passion, you know, our livelihood. That's why we all got into real estate. And of course, the revenue share is awesome. Let's not forget about the stock, right? The stock is truly amazing. And you know, that's a game changer to, you know, really any agent. You know, I'm not a big stock guy, but I love my EXPI stock. And I've seen it go from 62 cents a share up to, you know, $175 a share, then split, then it went down. Now it's going back up. So Kyle's an icon agent, and he has a lot of stock. Kyle and I got invited to New York a few years ago to go ring the bell with, you know, the executives, Glenn Sanford and Jason Gessing, all that fun stuff. That was a fun trip. No, we'll never forget about that. But let's talk about the stock. I mean, you know, I know you're an icon agent times two, and you know, you sell a lot of real estate, but share with the agents kind of, you know, how much stock do you have? Because I mean, that's huge right here. I mean, this is truly building wealth as a realtor, and a lot of agents don't really know how powerful being an icon agent is, especially back in the day. You know, like Elizabeth Riley, I mean, she's an icon agent times 7, and she's got a ton of stock. And that's the only reason why she actually moved over from Keller Williams over to EXP, is because of the icon program. And so she's definitely taking advantage of that. So Kyle, just share your story about, you know, your story about becoming an icon agent. You know, how much stock do you have, and you know, how that's truly going to change, you know, your you know, you and your family's life.
yeah. Oh, I mean, that's, you know, it's funny. I think when I came to EXP, I didn't even like, the stock was kind of like an afterthought. Like I was like, oh, the rev share. Cause I understood what residual income was. I kind of like didn't think too much about the stock. I was like, oh, it's cool, but you know, it's not a big deal. I was like, that's great if I can get my cat back or whatever. And, but I didn't really know what that would mean for me into the future. And when I say the future, we're talking 4 years, like that goes by like, you know, blink of an eye. And so like I don't even feel like I'm in the future. This is all just happening and it still hasn't really hit me yet. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I've got, you know, 25,000 shares of EXP stock. I think 22,000 of that's already vested. So, I mean, I've got like 3,000 that's, you know, unvested, but 22,000 is vested stock. I mean, you know, at $50 a share, that's more money than I had made in my entire career, like as far as like retirement and savings, you know, ever. And so, and I've done that here just in the last 4 years. And so, I mean, that to me, because like the rev share, yes, that's the residual income, and that was always the big draw for me. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this stock now that I've got, like that to me is like, so like that, I don't know, it just makes me feel good. Like to know that I've got this, you know, kind of nest egg already built up. And I think the other thing too, that's so cool when you start to get a lot of stock in the company, and you will, if you're selling real estate, like, you know, and you start to increase what you're doing in real estate and selling more, you're going to start to accumulate a lot of stock. Like I would have never thought I'd have as much stock as I do today, but it just kind of happens. And, but the coolest thing that I will say is like, you know, I'm a competitive person. I think a lot of us, you know, we're competitors, right? At heart, like if you're trying to do this, like we want to have a lot of impact, but we also want like to win or whatever, right? Like it makes you feel good. Well, the cool thing about having a lot of stock is I remember, you know, like for rev share, it's like, okay, you know, I want to win. I want to my group to win, like this kind of thing. But now it's like, when you have a lot of stock, you just want the company to win. Like you don't even care. Like, you know what I mean? Cause you're like, if, you know, Pat does good, if Lily does good, if Mike does good, if Jaime does good, like it doesn't matter if these people are in my group or not in my group. Like I'm rooting for everybody, because like we're all EXP, and you realize that the better we all do as EXP, like, you know, the better we individually do. And so it's a really cool experience when you start to accumulate that. Because yeah, I mean, I'm so vested now, and it's like you can't lose, you know what I mean? Like if you hear like, you know, Mike Sherrard's success earlier, when he's talking about, you know, these brokers, I'm like, yes, you know, keep bringing more people in, like, let's go, Mike. Like,
Yes.
you know, it don't matter if he's in my group, not in my group, like, you know, we just want to win together. And so I think that's the cool thing about having a lot of stock in the company.
Love it. There you go. Right there. Words from Kyle. Love it. All right, Kyle, we have 100 agents on right now. That is awesome. We got about 20 minutes left. I've got another question for you. Then we'll open up to the group here. So what are some of your goals? They could be financial goals. They could be, some of your goals for rev share. They could be goals for your family. What are some of your goals? Because I know you're very successful. You're a young guy. Kyle's a young guy, guys. Kyle's young. And he's very, very successful. What are some of your goals? I know you've got vision boards, and you're very organized, and you're a big thinker. You think big. What are some of your goals that you and the family have?
Well, I mean, a lot of my goals, I would say, it's funny. I didn't expect to hit some of these goals like as quick as I did. So now it's like, I got to come up with new goals, and I don't really even know yet what those are, I guess. But like my biggest goal when I first got started was just, I wanted to be able to like hit my freedom number, which, at the time for me was like 20 grand a month. Like if I could make 20 grand a month, in residual income, that would pay all my bills. Like my family and I could live how we want. We could travel, we could do all the things that we want to do. And and basically that happened already. Like now, that happened like probably a year ago, and so now it's just even higher than that. And so it's like, that's where for me, my for those that don't know, my family and I, so my kids, I got 2 kids, 5 and 7. They're both homeschooled. My wife stays at home and she does the homeschool with them. I obviously work from home, so we're like at home a lot. But what's funny about us is like we'll be home for like 2 months, maybe like a month and a half. And I do a lot of work. I'm kind of like in my lair, as my family calls it, right? I just like knock out lots of videos. I batch a lot of content. And then we go on the road for like another like 2 months, and we'll be gone. Like we'll take a trip. We got our Freedom Mobile. It's a big, Sprinter van. Pat's seen it.
Yep.
And yeah, Pat's partied in it.
Oh yeah, we've had some good times. Oh yeah,
had some good times in that.
Yeah, and this is true. Like this is true. Like sometimes I call Kyle. I'm like, Kyle, where are you at? Like, are you even in Texas? Like, where? I haven't seen you in like a month and a half. Where are you?
Yeah. Well, and that's it, man. We love to travel. We're right now with COVID and stuff, we're just trying to travel all over the US. But I'd say like our biggest thing, down the road is we'd love to travel abroad, see all sorts of different things. And so, I mean, as far as like goals, I think, the biggest goal that I can say is, continue to have some kind of security, because I want to be able to not just live this life for the next like 2 years and have it fizzle out. Like I want to be able to live this life for my entire lifetime. And so, I mean, there are monetary things you need to have to be able to secure that. So, I mean, I think from like a money standpoint, I would love to get to where it's like, I've got $10 million, saved up, like net worth kind of saved in the bank. Like I think that's like a number that's always just been in my head. So, that's a big thing. I think for rev share, like I want my group to hit 10,000 agents. I think that's a pretty cool number for rev share. And I know that it's doable. I do have like, and my YouTube channel, I definitely want to get to 100,000 subscribers. I think that won't happen next year, but I think within, probably about a year and a half to 2 years, I can get there. So, I mean, those are some additional goals that I've got. I think, the other thing that I've got, like, it's a goal of mine, I haven't like spelled it out, is like, I want to at least help probably, somewhere like 25 agents or so. I'd love to see 25 agents get to where I'm at or beyond in my organization. Like I'd love to be able to like really have a major impact on 25 of my agents at least, to say like, you guys have done it, right? And so, and that's the thing is like, what I've found is, about 5% of agents take rev share like real seriously at EXP, right? Like that's kind of, I think, the number, in general, that start to have success with it. So, I mean, if there's 500 agents in my group right now, that means that I've got probably 25 people in my group that like really are going after that rev share, making a big commitment to it. And I just want to make a big commitment back to them to be able to say like, hey, I'm going to run with you. And so because of that, I'm constantly trying to find ways that I can add, more value to my group. Like what are additional things that I can do, just like you do this call for your group, and, trying to help out, people to either see the vision or give them some tactics and things like that. I try and come up with systems and tools that my team can use. I came out with a website, which now each agent gets their own individualized website in my group, which has been a big help. That's been a really cool thing. We also do Zoom calls as well, like a weekly Zoom call. I've got an academy that I'm building out, and I've got a few courses in there that I give to all the agents that are in my group, and, basically help them, to either build their YouTube channel or whatever it is. So it's like just constantly kind of adding more value, I'd say, so I don't have a spelled out goal as far as like the impact side of it, I guess, yet. I would love to probably figure that out a little bit better. But I think my biggest one was just, be able to have freedom with my family. And we've got that, it's like, man, I think we've traveled. I think we've been out of Texas, out of San Antonio more than we've been in Texas, but then to be able to travel, but still keep up with business, that's the thing is like, and that's the cool thing is like, I can do this wherever I'm at. So
love it. Love it. And one last question here for me, and I'll open it up to the group here, but speaking of rev share, and you hit your your freedom goal, what's your largest revenue share check, ever at EXP?
Yeah. So right at 30 grand. So
wow, 30 grand, guys. Look at that. $30,000. Who wants that, right? Who wants that? That's huge. Yeah. That's life-changing right there. That's whenever we say life-changing, that right there answers that question, life-changing.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like I remember when I saw that come through, I was like, oh my gosh, that was a pretty big one. I remember telling Chrissy, like, babe, 30 grand, just one lump sum, you're used to getting commissions, and my commissions be like 6, 8, 10 grand, and those are great. Those are nice little chunks into the bank account. But when you hit 30 grand hit, that's a nice little chunk of change.
That's awesome, man. Congrats to you. All right. Who's got a question for Kyle Handy? I know there's a lot of questions in the text chat. Don't be shy. We got about 15 minutes left here, but who's got a question? I think, Greg, I saw a question come through from you. If you want to kick it off here and ask Kyle your question.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle. So
hey,
when you and Pat were at that lunch, what are one or two things that he said to you that kind of flipped the switch for you?
Yeah, good question. So first off, I would say for one, he kind of, I think the thing that I didn't understand yet about EXP that he cleared up for me at the meeting was the fact that I could do what I was already doing with having my brokerage at EXP. Like he basically said, it's a business within a business, and when I understood that concept that like, I didn't have to stop building a business, like, cause I thought when I came to EXP, it was like just going to be about me selling real estate, for somebody else. And there was no way that I could build something here. And that was really important for me that I could build something. And he was like, man, you can do what you're doing, but you can, basically get rid of all of the overhead, all of the liability and the risk, which again, like I said, I just had gotten sued that year. So that was a big one when he said, get rid of the risk and liability. That all that stuff, it really hit hard for me. And then, just the simple fact that he had himself had done it, right? Like, he shared with me, he had been, with EXP, I think at that point for a little over maybe like a year and a half, almost maybe 2 years. I don't know exactly.
Yep.
But, at that point, and he'd already showed me like the proof, like it was not like a concept, like pie in the sky, like, well, this could happen. Like, he showed it to me. And so I think for those that's where, it really, like, once I came to EXP, it made me realize like, you do need to leverage help at some point. You can't do it on your own as good as you think you are. Like, so I remember, in the beginning when I didn't have my own success, like I was having Pat and Scott and Brent, jumping on 3-way Zoom calls for me all the time because I could get to the point where I could explain stuff, but my rev share was like, $143 in 1 month. And so I'm like, well, that's not going to like really, impress a whole lot of people, and so,
but you got to start somewhere, right?
You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. Yep.
Yeah. You got to start somewhere. And so that's where, for me, it was like, all right, you can leverage your sponsorship line to help you. And so, but, in that case, in that meeting, those were probably the two biggest things that Pat did was, he showed me the proof and he told me, what EXP really was, a business and a business. So.
Yep. I love it. I'll never forget that meeting, Little Italy, and it was raining. And I think it was on like a Monday or Tuesday or something like that. And we just sat there for like literally 3 hours. I mean, we got into the restaurant, the place was packed and we were the last ones to leave.
Yep.
And and that's what you got to do. Right. And so I finally had that meeting and I was like, man, I've got to put on my best show here and I've got to, answer all of his questions. And it was a great meeting. Like, it was awesome. Like, we left out of there, like hugging each other and like, all right, we're going to take over the world. And but it took me a while. Right. And so, you got to stay persistent. Don't give up, don't give up. It just, whenever I called up Kyle, it just wasn't the right time for him. It wasn't the right time. And then finally, our CPA, thank goodness for Ed Guerrero, connected us and put us together. And it was the right time for him. He was stressed out. He was tired. He was, he was the broker and selling real estate and trying to mentor and trying to generate leads and trying to do this mining stuff in his office and like everything, right? Flip houses. Like he had a lot going on. right? And so I told him, I was like, hey, listen, this opportunity can take all the liability off of you, take all the stress away from you. You're good at doing what you're doing. Hey, let me show you this thing called revenue share. You've already attracted 15 agents. What if those 15 agents turn into 515 agents? And he was like, wow, that's huge. Right. And I showed him my numbers. Hey, this is what I've done. I've been in real estate for, at that time it was like 4 years. I was like, Kyle, you've got more experience than I do. You've got a wealth of knowledge. Let's use this. Right. And so I was just trying to help answer his questions. And I did that. And then it clicked and he goes, all right, hey, let's do this. Right. And it's been a game changer ever since. I mean, this opportunity has changed his life. Right. And so, I mean, it's absolutely amazing, man. Great job, Kyle. All right. Who's got another question for Kyle? Don't be shy. We have 99 on. Who's got a question for Kyle?
Hey, Pat, it's Joseph.
Hey,
Limo.
Joseph Limo. What's up, my man? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. Wonderful, man. Hey, Kyle, dude,
Hey.
you pop up on my YouTube all the time, and you always put a smile on my face, brother. I just love your really authentic approach to your YouTube. I guess my question for you is, because I always like to ask like rock stars like you, when you're going to engage an agent that you really don't know. What's one of those maybe 1 or 2 entry points that you find most effective to just really get them to settle down and listen to what you have to say?
Yeah, great question. Thank you so much, Joseph. That means a lot, man. Hearing that from you. But yeah, I would say, if I'm reaching out, which, I did a lot more of like the outbound reaching out early on before I had a YouTube channel, before I really had added any value, out there, like kind of in the marketplace. So I was in the same shoes as a lot of you guys that, if maybe you're thinking like, well, I don't have a YouTube channel, or I don't have, this or that. Like, I think the biggest thing that you have to realize is what this comes down to is relationships, right? Like this whole, the recruiting side, it's all relationships. And so like when I'm reaching out, especially to a cold agent, like somebody that maybe I don't know, or maybe I just know, very little of, I'm always very, in tune to like, what's going on in their business, what's going on in their life, like, how active are they? Like, like what's going on, like with their lead generation, like what are they using? I love to ask questions. Like, I usually in a conversation, like if I'm talking to another agent, I'm letting that agent talk like 75% of the time or more, right? Like just letting him talk, just asking questions. And then when you're building trust, building up your rapport with them, and then eventually, I find an opportunity, and I try and make that opportunity, based on like the information they've given me. So like if they tell me they're struggling with this, or if they just, maybe it's not a struggle, maybe it's like where they want to go to, like if they want to, do something bigger or better, I'll just ask them like, well, how do you plan to do that currently? Like where you're at, like what's the plan? What's the plan you have in place? And then I'll kind of share like a story that's like nonchalant. Like I'll usually just be like, well, I was kind of in that situation once too. Like I was just trying to grow. I was hustling. I was doing everything that I felt, was possible. But what I found was, like if I didn't really have like a proven plan, something that somebody else had already done before me, a lot of times I ended up just finding that I was spinning my wheels, and obviously now I was like, and I usually say like, this isn't like a plug for EXP. I just am trying to tell them in a soft way that like, they need to have some kind of a proven plan. I said, look, I joined EXP. That ended up becoming my proven plan. And, now it's like, I followed the footsteps of other people who had built freedom in their lives. And now I too have the freedom, it was the same freedom that I was looking for 9 years before. And I just couldn't do it no matter what I tried back then. And so I kind of share like a story with them. I try and use that as like an opportunity to get in there and work with them. And a lot of times, man, I think, like stories will take the edge off, especially if somebody's either cold or if they're even just like anti, stories are a little bit easier. People, if you just tell them facts in the beginning, or if you tell them like, well, you get your cap back, or you get, it's only a $16,000 cap, or it's only this, or it's only that, like factual stuff. It's not, I don't think it's as well received. As helpful as it is, it's not as well received as a good story. So like really like in the beginning, I got to be real familiar with so many stories. Like I knew Rob Flick's story by heart. I knew Gene Frederick's story by heart. I knew Pat Hayes' story by heart. Like I knew everybody's story that, had success at EXP, at heart. So that way I could relate to whoever it was that I was speaking with. And now I have my own story that I can share. And so like, you know, EXP Life is a great spot to like learn about different people's stories, because they're always highlighting team leaders, new agents, you know, just different commercial agents, luxury agents. And you can, that way, no matter what conversation you're in, you can relate it. Hey, you know, I was just actually reading a story about this guy who was doing this, you know, and then, you know, and then this happened, and then now this is what's happening. Right. And then you say, hey, you know, is it cool if I shoot you over that story after we talk? Like, you can back it up. So I think like that's a good way that you can, you know, kind of work that in with maybe a colder audience.
So much goodness there, man. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, you bet, Joseph.
Love it, man. Thanks, Joseph. All right, we got time for maybe one or two more questions. Who's got another question for Kyle?
I got
a question. What's up?
Oh, let's see. Yep, Jordan, go ahead, and then Trey, you're next.
Sure. So Kyle, I had a question for you about Facebook ads. How are you utilizing Facebook and Google ads for your exposure, both with videos, client attraction, and everything like that?
Yeah, so good question. So like right now, to be honest, like Facebook ads and Google ads is what I was using for my sales business. I don't as much do the sales side anymore. Like I pretty much just, you know, I've got referrals that still come in, and I send them out, you know, to agents of mine here locally, but I'm not like actively trying to get more leads on the sales side. And then I haven't really incorporated the leads on the agent attraction side. One, because, you know, it goes against the pledge for attraction purposes. But I will say there is kind of like a, you know, a way now that you can probably do it that's okay. And I see a lot of other agents that are doing it. Like if you come out with something of value, whether it be your course or you have some kind of like front end product that you can advertise that's not just EXP, you can advertise that stuff all day long. And then of course, in the back end, you're generating all these leads. They may buy or whatever your course or not, but now you got a warm list of people that you can then, you know, have conversations with, you know, start to see if maybe they're interested about EXP at some point in time, even if they weren't, or if they were interested in your product. And so that's kind of how you could probably run ads, whether it's Google or Facebook, you know, for attraction purposes without just specifically like doing it, you know, and saying like EXP Realty. I see, you know, that obviously there's a lot of people that are successful doing that. And I think, you know, and honestly, I think it's a good way to, because if you are selling something, you know, for me, it's like, I've got courses now. If I want to advertise those, even if I broke even, like if I don't care about making money on my courses, if I just break even, but I can generate a lot of leads in the background, you know, that's worth it for me because I know how important agent attraction is. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Good job. All right, Trey, go ahead. You're up.
What's up, fellas? How you doing, Pat? How you doing, Kyle?
Good, buddy. Hey,
what's up, Trey?
How are you?
Doing good, man. Definitely appreciate you guys taking your time out of your Freedom Friday to put this on. I can't wait to hang out with you, spend some time in Vegas here soon.
Yes.
But Kyle, I'm curious. I believe I've seen you're starting to do some stuff with YouTube live videos or live videos on social media. Just wanted to pick your brain on what your angle is with that and where you look to go with it.
Yeah. So actually that's, I've got a bunch of streaming stuff that I've been ordering off Amazon. Like the delivery guy probably is, you know, thinking what the heck is going on with him, because every day I'm getting a delivery from Amazon, different streaming stuff. Cause I think, you know, I'm just always looking for ways to take my YouTube channel to the next level. And I've got a lot of, you know, goals that I want to, you know, reach for the YouTube side of things. And so I figure like, okay, I now at this point, I can release 3 videos a week pretty consistently. Like I've got my process and system down there. And I kind of know that if I just keep releasing those videos, like where I'll be maybe at the end of the year or whatever, like not the end of this year, but like the end of 12 months from now. And I want to be further than that. So then I started thinking like, what are other ways that I could grow, you know, my channel? And I felt like, you know, like trying out live and doing live streaming. I know streaming is getting more and more popular now, whether it's, you know, video game streaming, card opening streaming. I mean, there's all sorts of different streaming reasons, but I was like, man, with YouTube, I feel like, you know, in real estate, you know, there's not a whole lot of, you know, people streaming, you know, all the time. Like, yes, a lot of people are creating content and videos, but I'd love to get into streaming more and make it like interactive and make it fun. So like have people see, you know, I'm doing like live contests and giveaways and like, you know, I can like look at people's, you know, social media, or I can look at their YouTube channel, like live on the call and just, you know, kind of do stuff like that. It's a way for me to kind of like engage with my audience better than just like replying to the comments. And so I think that's kind of why now, you know, I want to do 3 videos a week, and 1 live session per week is going to be my thing here pretty soon. So I haven't started it yet, but I've got all the stuff kind of coming. I'm learning my Ecamm live setup, so that way I can kind of, you know, do different things on there. So I've just been kind of like dabbling in it, but here pretty soon it's going to go into full effect.
Love it.
Love it, brother.
Love it. All right, we got time for maybe one more question here real quick, Kyle. Oh, what's
Kyle,
up? Yeah, go ahead, bud.
Hey, what's going on?
What's
Hey,
up,
Kyle,
Rob?
how's it going, buddy? Time no
Good, good.
see.
I know.
I know you're really big into the tech thing. What about somebody who's not like tech savvy like you? What would you recommend how to get started, trying to get that and trying to get comfortable getting to a place where you are? Because I think from what you were saying, if I'm getting this right, you almost kind of go that route right now if you want to get somebody outside of your own market. Would you agree with that, or what do you think about?
I think so. I mean, and I think that, we can't use like tech as like a limiting belief anymore. It's like, it's going to get more and more that way. Right. So like at some point you just got to kind of like, hunker down and like, embrace it and try and really, like, the thing is, like, I don't think anybody's naturally like knows all this stuff. I think it just takes time. Like, even for me, I'll take like entire days, which like a day for me, like of productivity that I could be doing other things, is worth a lot of time and money. Right. But like, for me, I'll take like a whole day to just learn a new piece of equipment or a new way to do something. Right. And it's because, one, I have the time now to invest in that type of stuff. So you got to figure out, are you too invested in a lot of other things, because you need time to be able to learn tech. Right. So like, because it's not impossible. Like my mom can learn there's things that like at first my mom couldn't do, and she knows how to do stuff now. So it's like, it's all learnable. Just matters, do you have enough time to take out of your day to do it? Because there's YouTube videos that will teach you everything about every piece of tech that you need. Right. I didn't know how to use DSLR cameras before I started a YouTube channel. Like, I never even had picked up a DSLR camera. I was like, oh my God, that thing is huge. Like, I'll never use that thing. And now it's like, I know every single menu item. I know how to, because not only did I learn it, but I'm using it. Like, I failed at a lot of things. Like, I think I'm on like my 4th or 5th DSLR because, I've tried some, I learn it. Oh, it doesn't do this. Okay. Let me buy a new one. I sell that one, get a different one. So like, that's the thing with tech, is you just have to be willing to like experiment. But that's no different than like anything that you're trying to get good at, whether it's being a realtor, whether it's being a good agent attractor. You got to be willing to, to fail at some stuff and to be able to experiment and to be able to invest the time to learn it. So
love it.
Yep.
Love it. Good stuff, guys. All right. Well, hey, we are at the top of the hour. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Kyle, you were fire, man. Those are some great golden nuggets right there. I loved it. This is being recorded. We'll get this over to you, Kyle. Then also we'll put it back out on Team Disruptor as well. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun. We love doing this. And happy Friday, happy Freedom Friday. You guys go out, make it a great weekend. Happy Halloween. Be safe. Don't eat too much candy now. And we'll see you guys back here next Friday. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Thanks, Ian. Thank you, Kyle, so much, man. You crushed it, bud. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Great call. Talk to you later.
Take care. You guys have a great weekend.